welcome to the Animal Training Academy Making Ripples podcast show, the show where we share the stories of the ripple-making extraordinaires with behavior nerd superpowers who make up the Animal Training Academy membership. I'm your host and one of the happiness engineers at Animal Training Academy, Shelley Wood from Drop Your Jaws Dog Training in Cape Girardeau, Missouri in the United States. We're absolutely thrilled and grateful to have you here with us today. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss a single episode. This show is brought to you on behalf of the Animal Training Academy membership. So if you like the conversations in these episodes, then we want to invite you to continue them with like-minded people in the ATA membership, which you can find out more about at www.atamember.com. Within the membership, you can get access to twice monthly live web classes, the back catalog of previous web class replays, plus a huge library of videos and projects to help you problem solve your training challenges. And we're a sociable bunch with an exclusive private Facebook group and forums area. It's like a Netflix social media platform for animal behavior geeks. Today, we are excited to welcome Jessica Mann to the show. Jessica has dedicated her career to working with dogs full-time since 2012, with a specialization in assisting fearful dogs. Her expertise extends to helping these dogs conquer specific fears such as noise phobia, fear of humans or other dogs, and generalized anxiety. Jessica provides her services through both one-on-one consultations and group sessions, primarily conducted online. Her methodology incorporates confidence-boosting games and teaching dogs how to take control of the things that frighten them. Since 2016, a significant portion of her time has been devoted to mentoring new instructors and behavior specialists across various settings. Jessica also offers classes in dog sports and actively participates in training and competing in various disciplines, including canine freestyle, rally obedience, and scent work. Before her formal training as an instructor and behavior analyst, Jessica had an academic background in political science and journalism. She has authored 2 books to date, the first one titled Shy Dogs in English. I'm not even going to attempt the Swedish. Is it Swedish, Jessica? Is that right?
Yeah, Swedish.
Okay, I'm not even going to attempt the Swedish title. We'll go with Shy Dogs, which was published in 2017 and which is designed to assist owners of fearful dogs. Her second book, published in 2021, focuses on puppy training. Additionally, Jessica is a valued member of the Tromplo community, contributing her expertise to further the understanding and care of dogs. Jessica, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm very excited to be talking to you today.
Could you tell us really quickly the name of that first book? What is that in Swedish?
It's Blygerhundar, and it roughly translates to shy dogs, so that will work perfectly.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me just go with Shy Dogs. All right. Well, thank you for joining me today. Like I said, I'm super excited to have you here with us. So let's just jump right in and get started. And why don't you tell us, to start us off, just a little bit about yourself and your story and how you got into animal training and some of the work that you're doing today?
Mm-hmm. If I want to go back really far, I would probably say that I decided on becoming a horse trainer or a veterinarian when I was about 3 years old or 5 years old, very young. But then I had a completely different career for a long time until I got my first dog, who turned out to be, that one very special dog that had to be really taken care of in a very careful manner, and I did not have the competence to do that at that time. I think this is a really classic story for a lot of people actually on the show, that they get this problematic dog that has issues of some kind, and then they try to learn more and more and have to be a little bit better than maybe if you get just an ordinary, wonderful, friendly, not fearful puppy. And so what I had to do, I had to take all the classes I could. I had to really dive into knowing a lot of things that maybe you usually don't have to know when you have a dog since just 1 year. And this little puppy, she was fearful of everything, people and other dogs and objects, whatever you say, she would just be fearful of it. And I tried to help her as much as I could. And at that time, I had just moved away from my big city life. So I was changing paths in my life anyway. But I was going to start a coffee house and was planning for something completely different. And instead, I started to just reading up on dogs and going to all the dog classes I could. And finally, I understood that I needed so much more. So I signed up for a 1-year class to become an instructor, not with any ambition whatsoever to ever work with this. I just wanted to help my little dog. And after a while, I just realized that this is actually what I wanted to do. Maybe not full time at that time. I didn't know that, but this completely took over my life. So I started to get into even more training and more classes. And we ended up moving away with my dogs in plural at that time and working in the dog school. And then finally, just a few years later, actually, I started my own business. So this was a very strange turn of events from having a plan that was completely different. And after she passed away, I was then working full time with dogs, and I decided I wanted to share all that knowledge that I had to scramble together in a very short period of time. So I decided to write this book, Shy Dogs, Blygerhundar. And since then, this has been actually my main focus for now for 6-7 years. So giving seminars and giving online classes and so on, and also training others to become instructors and working with behavioral issues for dogs. So yeah, this is nothing I had planned for, but if I ask my parents, my dad actually, he said, well, this comes as absolutely no surprise since I always had animals in my life, just not dogs.
That's a great story, and one that I think a lot of us can relate to. I know that I certainly relate to many parts of it, from being that 3 to 5-year-old child thinking I wanted to work with horses or become a veterinarian. That resonates with me, and as does all the rest. I can remember sitting in a professional dog training program that I was going to and saying out loud, I'm not ever going to start a business. And yet here we are. So that's awesome. Yes. Yeah, I'm sure many other listeners can relate to that, your story as well. What was that little puppy's name?
Her name was Boo, and she looked like a very, very small, black, short-haired German Shepherd, but she was a German Shepherd Border Collie mix. And she was a rescue. I got her when she was just 4 months old, but already at that time she was very fearful. But she turned out to be she never liked dogs, other dogs, except for the dogs I have at home. But she was a very happy-go-lucky dog when she passed away. So I'm very happy with how she turned out. Of course, I had to still make a lot of accommodations for her, and I had to. I moved out to the countryside, and I'm actually writing about that in my book as well. All the superhero owners that put their alarms on 4 o'clock in the morning to go out when there is no one else out, and how we love the November rain because there is no one else out on the streets and so on. But actually, I didn't have to do all those things when she passed away, because she was then a pretty confident dog, except for when it came to other dogs. So yeah, and she turned out, she was wonderful. She's dearly missed still.
She sounds wonderful. And I feel like she probably, it sounds like she also taught you a lot, and that you were able to use some of that to teach others as well. What are some of the biggest lessons that you think Boo might have taught you?
Oh my. First of all, I always say that I'm so grateful that she was my first dog, because I had no expectations of what a dog should be. I mean, I loved her from the second I saw her. It was one of those situations that we were going to a rescue place just to look at the dogs and the puppies and talk to them. And she was with us in the car on the way home. So, and I of course, I knew nothing. I saw no signs, but because I didn't have enough knowledge to see the signs in her. But I was so grateful that she came to me in a time when I didn't have any expectations. I was never, ever disappointed with her. And I think this is one of the lessons that I still try to bring to the table whenever I meet a new dog and whenever I get a new puppy, to see them for who they really are. And even though when I get a puppy, maybe I do it for, well, of course, to be family members and best friends, first of all, but I also have an ambition to compete in different dog sports and train them in different dog sports. But I always try to see what the dog that I have in front of me, what he likes to do and what he has for strengths or weaknesses, and what I need to encourage and what I need to work with. And she taught me so much that any expectations could just go out the window, because I had this romantic picture of how it was owning a dog, that we would meet friends and their dogs, and we would go on long walks, and we would have a really social life and so on. But we couldn't with her, because she was so fearful for others. And we just had to make a little cocoon and having fun, just the two of us, or my husband and I, and then the puppies and the dogs that we had in our life. And I think that's a really important lesson for anyone, not to be expecting too much and not to be disappointed, just to do the best with the learner or the animal or the friend that you have in front of you. So that's, I mean, it's not like, okay, this is the hands-on lesson, but I think it's kind of a philosophy or a mentality that I try to always think about.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really insightful lesson and a really important one in so many areas of our lives. And certainly when we bring an animal into our lives, to really kind of check our expectations so that we can focus on the individual in front of us. So I think that's a beautiful lesson. Thank you for sharing that with us. I know recently there was somebody in the Animal Training Academy community who shared a post looking for, I know you and I talked about this before too, looking for some activities to do with their dog that were kind of like physical, but yet not really hard on the joints and that sort of thing. And I was just blown away by the extent of the suggestions, the awesome suggestions that you shared with people. And I'm wondering if some of those activities might be things that you did with your puppy Boo to help boost her confidence in some way. And if so, if you could share a little bit about that with us.
Yeah, sure. Yes, absolutely. Both with Boo and then dogs that came along later on. I had a toddler who I had to retire. He was the kind of dog you dream about. He was a wonderful, not show dog, but in competitions, he loved doing everything. It didn't matter whatever I asked him to do, he would just like, okay, let's do this. Okay, you want me to take your socks off? I'm going to be the best one to taking your socks off. He was Boo's they were the opposites of dogs. I mean, completely. But he was wonderful. But unfortunately, he hurt his back when he was just 2.5 years old. But both Boo being a German Shepherd Border Collie and him being a taller, they needed to work. I mean, mental and physical stimulation is basically, it's so important for any dog, but especially for those kind of working dogs and working breeds that are very high in energy. And they would, for example, when Will was his name, when he had to have like long periods of resting because his back was bad, and he would take a job, he would then try and guard the house, and he would, be very destructive and so on. So I always had to make sure that he was engaged in various activities, even though he couldn't do the obedience and trials and things that he loved to do. I had to see that he was physically and mentally challenged anyway. So both Boo, because she was fearful, but a lot of that came from having some physical challenges as well. So she had everything from allergies and hip dysplasia and so on. So both those dogs really taught me a lot about mental stimulations that is easy on the joints. And I love all the kinds of scent work you can do with dogs, and also doing that in different media. I think I shared the water search that my toddler did. He was actually looking for hockey pucks in our stream, but also tracking and parkour on the walks. You can do that in such a manner that it's not really hard on the joints and so on. So yeah, both those dogs really taught me a lot about this. And for Will, it was mostly to keep him occupied and giving him a meaningful life. But for Boo, it was this, but also to give her confidence. And some days I couldn't do more dog training, just to make sure that she was safe and sure and secure in those settings. But I also wanted I just wanted to boost her confidence. So I could sometimes do, weeks and months where I really got out of my way to see that she didn't meet anyone, no people and no dogs and nothing that was scary for her. And just be in the forest basically and doing all these kinds of things with her. And I knew after that break from meeting her triggers and meeting hard stuff, she would always come out and be better, be less fearful, have more confidence. So this is something that I now work with the dogs that I meet, and try to boost their confidence away from a hard setting. So do this this is why I love the online training with these kinds of dogs, because they don't have to meet me. They can be in their own living room. They can be in their own backyard. They don't have to go to a scary dog school where there are lots of strange scents and so on. They can be in a very, very safe and secure place and be working on these things that when they are done with this, they can go to a harder setting. They can go out in the city life, or they can go to a dog school, or they can go on a normal walk where there are triggers, because they would then have some more confidence. So yeah, she taught me a lot about this, that you don't have to train your dog in a hard setting for them to actually manage that hard setting in the future.
Makes total sense. I mean, what a great What an interesting and great point. And I was thinking as you were talking that so often I think with dogs who have challenges, whether we're the owners or the people working with them, we're thinking about those immediate antecedents and consequences. We're thinking about like working within that, but how important it is to think about those distant antecedents and to make sure that our dogs are getting their needs met and have activities to boost their confidence and things like that outside of those situations. So at least I think it makes total sense. That's the way it's making sense in my brain. Is that kind of what you're...
Yeah. Absolutely. And also another aspect of this is that when I talk to my clients, most of them are so weary. They are so tired of always working on the hard stuff with their dogs, and they say, oh, in the future I would love to go tracking with my dog, or in the future I would love to do rally obedience, or in the future I would love to, but first we have to work on this really hard thing. I have to have a dog first that can be among other dogs and so on. And I want to switch the terms completely and start in a different angle. Do the rallyo first, do the tracking first, and then, because then you become a team and your dog will have something that they are really, really good at, and they will love that, and they will also be familiar with the setting. Because when you come to the dog sport class for the first time and your dog already knows the rallyo signs, for example, or the agility equipment or whatever, and it would be something that is very secure for your dog because you have already trained it in a very easy and simple setting, and you don't have to be competition ready, and this is so not only about the competition either. It's just having fun with your dog and see that you don't have to only work on the hard stuff. You can work on the fun stuff to be able to do the hard stuff, and also to have actually the energy to do that. Because if you only do the very tiresome and maybe not so fun stuff, then you will just end up saying that, okay, having a dog in your family is not as fun as it maybe should be, and being a dog is not as fun as it should be.
Yeah, great point for sure. Spending that time building the relationship in a positive way and doing things together that are fun for everybody instead of just like, okay, we're going to tackle these hard challenges all the time. Yeah, makes total sense. Could you share with us, I know you talked about it a little bit in your bio, but could you share with us just a little bit now about now that you do have your own dog training business and you are dog training professionally, what are you doing with your work? Who are you serving? How can folks work with you? That kind of thing.
Mostly, I am actually working with people that want to become instructors or behavior, not behavior analysts. We call it dog psychologists in Swedish. This is a tradition from Anders Hallgren, who is a kind of Swedish, the first dog psychologist. And so we actually use that term in Swedish as well. But working with people that want to be working with dogs with challenges in the future. So this is what I normally do mostly, but I also have my online class that it's just called Blygerhundar Shy Dogs, I cater to actually anyone that has a dog that has challenges in mostly any ways, but mostly being fearful or scared or shy or whatever you want to label it. So both the professionals and the regular dog owners that maybe have their first dog or their 10th dog. I don't really I don't really care, because I try to set up the situation for them to be, it should be easily manageable for both the dog and the person. So this is what I normally do. Right now, this year, I have a little of a gap year when I'm writing and working on some new books. So yeah, so my days are totally different. But you could always. I also try to be a little bit active on social media and try to spread my. My knowledge there, but it's mostly in Swedish, and I'm not currently active at Tromplo, but I'm hoping to be in one of their courses pretty soon.
Wonderful. And we will cover this again later probably, but just for folks who are listening right now, and catch this piece of it and are wondering how they can find you, how could they find you online if somebody wanted to work with you or find out about any of the classes you're offering in the future?
My dog training business is called Motiverade Hundar. And I think you probably have to write that down in the show notes. But they can always find me on Instagram, Motiverade Hundar, or just an email or so on. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Instagram is probably where I'm most active, but email is always working fine as well.
Let's dig into some training specific situations now. Could you share with us now about a specific training related challenge that you've experienced, and maybe a little bit about how you worked through it and what you learned from it?
And this relates to what I was saying before, that even though you're training on something completely different, you can see results in a different area. But this kind of took me a little bit by surprise, and I shouldn't really say that, because I'm very aware of all the mechanisms, but sometimes you have to be a little bit humble and see that things are not always what they seem to be. I got a taller puppy this spring, and when he was 4 months old, he broke his toe. And this was in June, and we had actually a heat wave in Sweden. It's not very common, but we did. So they didn't want to go in and operate his toe. They wanted to see if they could fixate it and see if it would heal by itself. Since he was just 4 months old, he was still growing very, very fast. So they wanted to see that. So he had to wear a bandage with a brace to fixate his toe, and it was going from his toes up to his elbow. So his whole leg was totally in a huge bandage, and he was wonderful, this little puppy. He was totally fine with it, and we had to change his bandage so many times every week because he was still wild and crazy. But being a toddler, he needed to be entertained. So I tried to do things with him to keep him, calm and happy and so on. So we were playing a lot of these very slow games where he perhaps just had to sit still and look at a treat, or look at a treat in my hand. And we did some scent work, but everything was very calm, as calm as possible. And he was doing fine. He was very happy with this. And then his bandage was removed, and he was totally fine in his toe. And I realized that he thought that every training situation was him being very calm and very mellow. So as soon as I had my treat bag on and I was looking like we were training, he would be like shifting gears totally. He was wild and crazy, and then he was just, it was almost like I pressed an off button on him. And this would have been wonderful if it was the other way around. He was still wild and crazy when we were not training, but then as soon as I wanted to have a getting him to run out to a target, or to even to play with me, and he would be like taking the tug toy in his mouth and lying down and just be super, super calm. And I just realized that this is what he thought training was. Training for him was shifting gears, taking a deep breath, and just being super calm. And this, well, it could be nice because he's totally quiet in his training. He's now almost 8 months old, and but he's still, I can throw a ball to him and he would not gallop. He would just trot out to get it and trot back to me. He's happy, but he's super, well, I don't want to say slow, but he's really mellow in this. So I try to see, okay, how can I get him to shift gears, to be a little more active, a little more energetic? And I need to have this if I want to compete in freestyle in the future with him. And then I realized what we didn't do when he was injured was any shaping, because as soon as I brought out the clicker and he could decide for himself, or I would observe what he was doing, he would go totally bananas. So I didn't do that when he was injured. So I kind of thought, okay, maybe this is the way to go. So now he has to think that he's the one with the plan all the time. And then he will be super quick, and he will be very confident, and he will be, also, he's so funny because he would try 1,000 different things, and he will actually come up with a lot of tricks that I normally wouldn't train with such a young dog, because he's having a lot of confidence in just trying things. So I have to be a really good clicker trainer in order to get what I want from him. But as soon as I try to lure him, even if it's just, okay, I will lure you in a sit because I want you to do something, he will be totally slow again. And it will be like, oh, it will be so slow, all these movements. So he has to really think that he's the one training me 100% of the time, which I love, because I love shaping and I love clicker training. But this is so unusual for me to not being able to take the steering wheel in any way. So he loves heel work because he thinks that this is something he invented himself, and he loves all the heel work to music positions because he thinks that he's the one inventing these things. And it's so funny that this is how I usually would train a dog. I would be shaping them from the start, but with him it took a while, and this was actually the way to go to make him a little faster. So now because with other dogs I might lure, say I want to train a spin, for example, I might lure the first one, and then they have to do it a little bit more on their own terms. But with him it's totally different. He will do something, and then I will use the lure just for him to realize that he can have the same energetic feeling if I try to lure something. So now I'm training him to be following a treat. He loves treats, but now I'm training him to follow the treat in a speedy way, except and not being really slow about it. So this has been a really mind-blowing for me, and I'm really tired every time I'm training him, because I have to think so much about not showing him that I'm actually training him. He has to really think that he's the one coming up with all the ideas, and he does. So this is really fun.
That's a really interesting challenge, and definitely something that it does seem like would force the handler to be super creative in your approach as far as how to train him things.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what kinds of things are you doing to teach him to follow the treat in a speedy way? Are you following a follow of the treat with something specific to try to teach that? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, actually, I just I taught him the hand target first with no treat. I just put out my hand and he pressed his nose to it, and I was like, "Wow, okay, this is a really cool thing." This is the first thing I teach all my dogs, but he didn't know that. And then I put a treat in my hand. And then, so he would go to the treat and he would be a little bit more hesitant. Okay. But he would do it. And when the speed was as fast as my hand without the treat, I would slowly move my hand away. So he would follow the hand, and then I would switch it out. So sometimes my hand would be empty, and sometimes it would be with the treat in it. So actually, sometimes you teach a hand target with the treat in your hand, but I had to do the other way around. So he first had to do it without the treat, and then I just put the treat there when he already knew the behavior. And also, if I want to toss the treat to the side and maybe do like a ping pong, Leslie McDevitt's ping pong game, for example, I would have him run out to the target first and to a target, and then I would toss the treat ahead of him just to teach him to also go there. But he already had the target out to either side, so he would be he already knew the behavior, and the treat would just come first for him. And this would be, so it's really thinking opposite of how I usually would do it. Really fun and really challenging.
How many dogs do you have right now?
Right now I have 3 dogs. I have 2 border collies and my taller puppy. Well, adolescent. He's 8 months.
Yeah. And so I'm sure the other 2 are very different in the way that you're training them. You would train them more the way that you might have previously.
Actually, they are all very different from each other. The border collies they're very they are cousins, I think you would say, and the male one is large and long hair, black and white, looks like a traditional border collie from from many years ago, and he is he was also kind of mellow when he was younger, and he still is. He's the easiest dog I have ever worked with when it comes to like ordinary daily stuff. And he's super engaged, and he loves to. I mean, the best thing he knows is when I'm having classes, and he can be a demo dog, and having everyone's eyes on him is his favorite thing in the world. And Ivy, my female, she is tiny, she's mostly white, and she's short-haired, and she's very serious. And she can be a little bit, I wouldn't say fearful, but she can be a little bit hesitant to things. And she has to be, I can't change things with her. I have to, if she's going if she's going out one door in the house, she wants to get in that door as well. And if I let her out another door the other day, she wants to get in that door again. So she's very like squared minded and serious, while Tesla is he's not serious at all, and he's just happy all the time. So they are very different. But and with Ivy, I have actually taught her by luring her the most, because I wanted to get into heel work to music with her. And heel work to music is 10 positions around you. So it's the normal heel, and it's the heel on the right side, and it's the dog is between your legs, and it's in front of you and in back of you. And I can't really. I wanted to show her as much as possible. So I taught her all those positions by luring her. And she's a phenomenal shaping dog as well. She's really creative, but she is, when I'm doing freestyle with her, she really needs me to be very clear with my instructions, or she will be very unsure of what I'm doing. So if I'm having my program and I want to change two tricks, for example, she will be very upset with me and she would tell me that she is. But Tesla, I mean, he's my main competition dog right now. And I can change things with him. I could do the whole program and then I can just be, maybe I should switch these two tricks. And he will be like, okay, this is fine. And he's like, so he's super easy in that way. But he's since he's not as serious as Ivy is, he will be, he can be barking and he can be, running around and being a little bit too creative himself sometimes, which is good, but maybe not in the ring. Then I just have to go on for the ride. I'm glad to be invited.
And did I hear you correctly that Tesla and Ivy are like cousins, basically? Is that right? Did you say that? Yeah. That makes me think of what you were talking about in the beginning about one of the lessons that Boo taught you, and not having expectations about the individuals in our lives, that those two, even related, could be so different.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
What a great opportunity with those three very unique individuals that you have to learn different lessons from each of them. So awesome.
Yeah. And also seeing that the dog that you have, that because Ivy, she would be probably the perfect competition dog, but she really doesn't enjoy it in the ring. So now I use her for my online coaching. She likes that. She likes to be in our little bubble. And she's a freestyle champion. So she has been competing for a long time. But what I had to do with her was a lot of the time in the ring, I would just, get a toy out and play with her and so disqualify myself, just to boost her confidence and to always have her thinking that fun things could happen. I could never switch out the routine with her, but I could take out the toy and then I could just go on. But for Tesla, if I would suddenly take out a toy and say that, okay, we are not going to do the routine any longer, I'm going to reward you with a toy here, he will be really disappointed, because he loves to be in the ring and do the things that we should do there. And he knows his routine by heart. And my main work with him is to see that he actually does all the things that we should do until we go to the end, because he thinks everything is so fun for him. So they are really different. But it's I think it's the joy of training dogs. When you think you know a lot of things, then a new dog comes along and they will be totally different. So that's really interesting. That's what I like with dog training, all the different aspects of it.
Yeah, that is really interesting. But I want to circle back to something else that you just said. Did you say that, and I think you were talking about with Ivy, that in a competition setting that you would get a toy out to boost her confidence, and that would disqualify you then in that competition? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because when you have the routine, and for the highest class where she's in, the routine will be from 3 to 4 minutes. And this means that they will probably have to work for about 5 minutes, because you go in and you have to, the judge will say, okay, welcome into the ring, and you will get in there and you will place yourself and you will wave to the DJ to turn on the music, and you will do your routine, and then you will greet the judges and you will walk out. So this will probably take almost 5 minutes, and that's kind of a long time. And for those 5 minutes, you can't reward the dog at all, not a single time. I mean, I can tell my dog that he's good, that I can use all the verbal praise that I want, but in my experience, lots of dogs, they just think that is background noise. Maybe they will have they will maybe use it as a keep going signal, and they will know that, okay, I'm on the right track, and this will lead to my reward in the end. But in freestyle, at least in Sweden, the judges are very used to people disqualifying themselves by rewarding the dogs. They are actually saying that when they have the little gathering in the beginning of the competition. They will say that, okay, and remember, if you want to give your dog a treat, go out and do it, and then you can come back in, and you can continue, and the music would just be playing. And if you want to reward your dog in the ring, do it with a toy. And they would just be like, okay, and then you're disqualified. And it's actually not a big deal in freestyle. I know there are lots of different traditions in other sports, where the judges will be, they won't be upset with you if you do this, but it's not as common to do it. And I think this is a really excellent tradition in freestyle, that if you need to boost your dog, and if you need to, maybe you can just, I have been competing with some dogs that are not as experienced, and maybe I just go out, I just stand and I wave the music, and as soon as it starts, I will bring the toy out, just to give them the confidence that, okay, this could happen, and this was totally enough for my dog. Maybe he just in that competition setting, maybe he's just fine to be working for a minute, and then I want to show him that this was perfect. So I think it's really good to use that time, because you buy your 5 minutes basically in the ring. That's what you do, and you can do whatever you want with those 5 minutes. And if you can boost your dog and tell the dog that this is the best place on earth to be. And for Ivy, she was a little bit worried. As soon as the music came on, she would always be looking around, and then she would, there are the judges, and there's a DJ, and she would be a little bit unsure on why they were staring at her. And that was a perfect opportunity for me to tell her that, this is really a really good place to be. So I've been using that a lot with her. I think I have probably disqualified more entries than I have finished from start to goal. But she is a freestyle champion, so it paid off with her. But now she's doing rally obedience instead, and it's not as hard for her, because then she would just have to be very close to me, and she likes that better.
I love hearing that. It sounds like in freestyle, there's really a priority placed, or at least space for there to be a priority placed on the dog's emotional state while they're in the ring. So very cool. Thank you I didn't know about that. So thank you I didn't know that it was that commonplace, so thank you for sharing about that. I would be very proud of that if I were you. But could you share with us now about another training situation that you are proud of, and or one that you find reinforcing?
Actually, I had on my little note here, I have written down Ivy and her freestyle as my proud moment, because this is something that really makes me proud. But I'm proud of my dogs every day. And I know I have been talking a lot about the competition setting, because that's my specialty interest. But I think I would be even more proud. I'm even more proud of my dogs when I take them to my parents for a barbecue night, and they are just chilling in their backyard, or if I take them, go out and stay at a hotel, and they will just be fine in that setting as well, or going to the vet with my young dog. Now he has been at the vet so many times this summer, since he hurt his leg and so on, and the dogs having the confidence and just being very secure in that kind of setting, that is something that makes me really, really proud. And I know that this has a lot to do with the the genes they have, but also a lot to do with of course the training, the confidence boosting training that I try to do with all my dogs, and even if they come as chill as Tesla, I will still be doing all the confidence training with them and making sure that they are happy to go on uneven surfaces, and they're happy to be closing cupboards or walking where it's moving, and all those kinds of things. And I think that really helps. And I was very happy because Check, my puppy, when he had to wear a cone when he was 4 months old, I had already trained him to put his muzzle in an empty yogurt container and in a rubber boot and in stuff like that, just to make sure that he was in the future, if he had ever needed it, he would be happy to wear a cone or a muzzle and so on. So that is probably something that I'm quite proud of doing from such an early age with all my dogs, and seeing that they are happy in all those settings. So competition, it's mainly just the icing on the cake, and the cake itself is all the different things that we do every day with our dogs. And I think that is something to be really, really proud of when you have, well, if you have easygoing dogs, or if you have dogs that you have to that are a little bit more challenging, if you have to arrange the situations for them to be happy in that kind of situation, it's something to be very proud of, I think. So yeah, that's something I really want to mention, that people might not, they might just see the ribbons and the certificates and so on, but actually the everyday work is having a nice walk and seeing that your dogs are having the best life is something that is worth more than all the ribbons in the world, I think.
I think so too. That's awesome. It sounds like you have some very well-rounded dogs who can be comfortable in a variety of settings, and that seems to be a really important thing for their welfare. So that's awesome. I would be super proud of it as well. Jessica, thank you so much for sharing everything with us today so far. Before we wrap up, I do want to give you a chance. Is there anything that I have not asked you about that you were kind of wanting to share about today?
I think I have talked a lot about everything, I think, and I have been passion talking about both the confidence boosting things that I really want to share, and I really want to encourage people to do with their dogs, if they're getting a puppy, or if they are getting a new dog, or if they have an adult dog or an older dog, to just be working with them, and maybe it can be super simple. You could have take an empty plastic bottle and just put some dried peas in it, and just let your dogs just move it around a little bit and make some noise. Or you can take the cupboard and teach your dogs just to close it, or you can do a little bit of scent work, or you can do a little bit of dog parkour on the walks, and you can just doing all these little things, and see to it that every week, no matter if you have a puppy or an older dog, that you're always working on those confidence boosting things. So yeah, that's mainly what I want to just put out there as my last words of wisdom.
Well, they're great words of wisdom. So thank you very much for sharing those with us and everything else that you've shared today. And we will be sure to, I'm going to have you send me the text for all of the links that we'll be sure to link for people in the show notes, so that people can find you then on, I believe you said Instagram was a real great place to find you, and other places folks can find you online. So So Jessica, from myself, on behalf of everybody listening today, on behalf of ATA, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us and share all of this with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to be talking to you.
We do, of course, appreciate all of you tuning in as well. And if you have enjoyed this episode and are interested in carrying on the conversation about working with the animals in our lives in the most positive, most fun, and most choice-rich ways, then as mentioned at the start of this episode, the Animal Training Academy community is waiting for you. Head on over to www.atamember.com and click on the membership button in the main menu to learn more about what members are describing as the Netflix social media platform for behavior geeks. That's it for this episode, though. Thank you so much for listening. You'll hear from us again soon.